Welcome to the Explainer. Look, if you're navigating the complexities of the polymer markets right now, you already know that timing and information are literally everything. So today, we're setting the stage for a rapid, high-value market intelligence briefing specifically focused on polyoxymethylene, or POM as we'll call it. We're looking straight at the data for the first week of August 2026. My goal here is simple. Take this raw data and lay it out so you can see exactly where the market is standing right this second, and way more importantly, where it's heading.
All right, let's jump right in and pose the ultimate question that every single commodity trader and supply chain manager is agonizing over today. With regional markets seemingly stalling out, is it time to buy or should you hold on to your POM? I mean, it's the million-dollar question, right? You look around and you might see what looks like a lack of aggressive movement, but surface-level stillness, it often hides some pretty major underlying shifts. By the end of this short explainer, you're going to have a definitive answer to this exact question.
Now, before we start unpacking the numbers, we absolutely need to establish where our intel is coming from. The data driving today's explainer comes straight from Polymer Bazaar. Their core focus is crystal clear: price, prediction, and profit. They're a highly authoritative source in this space, and we're relying on their ultra-precise weekly report to map out our strategy. When you're making major purchasing decisions, you need data you can completely trust. And well, that's exactly what we're breaking down for you right now. Moving on to Section 1, Global POM Market Overview and Feedstock. Let's get into it. So as you know, you really can't understand the price of the finished polymer without first looking at the raw materials going into it. The single, absolute critical metric anchoring our analysis today is methanol, and it's sitting at exactly 2,580 RMB per metric ton. Why does this matter so much? Because methanol is the primary feedstock for POM. This number right here acts as our baseline, the anchor for literally everything else we're going to discuss today. When we analyze the price of POM, we've always got one eye on this feedstock cost. So, at 2,580 RMB, our starting line is officially set. Next up, Section 2, Regional Bazaar Analysis.
All right, so we've got our baseline feedstock cost, right? Now let's see how that's rippling across the three major global hubs. And honestly, this fragmented regional data paints a pretty cautious picture. Let's walk through it together. Over in Europe, the demand status is just completely muted. Converters already have ample stock sitting on hand, which has led to a really quiet trading environment. Prices over there are holding stable at 1,600 euros per metric ton. Then, let's look at China. The bazaar here is definitely characterized by weak demand. Buyers simply aren't jumping to make new purchases right now. Instead, they're actively drawing down the stocks they already have. And finally, India. The Indian bazaar is seeing only very marginal spot price movements. We're looking at quotations hovering right around 156 to 158 rupees per kilogram in Mumbai, and just a tiny bit higher at 160 to 162 rupees in Delhi, and that's excluding GST. So, across the board, you're seeing a really consistent theme of hesitation, plenty of existing stocks, and a total lack of aggressive buying. Which brings us to Section 3, Current Buying Pulse. Okay, so if all three major regions are showing weak or muted demand, you'd probably expect the overall market to be crashing, right? Well, this is exactly where the plot thickens. Let's synthesize all that fragmented regional data we just looked at. Surprisingly, despite those muted regional hubs, the overall pulse of the POM bazaar actually remains slightly firm. How on earth is that possible? Well, it's a very delicate balancing act. We have modest buying interest for sure, but it is being met with slightly tight availability. And it's that slight tightness that's actually propping up the overall market sentiment. Now, on the flip side of that coin, we do have adequate supplies currently in the system, and that's successfully capping any sudden price spikes, keeping spot prices moving within a super narrow range. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is this: the market isn't falling. It's actually holding firm in a tight little band because the available supply is just scarce enough to maintain the floor.
Moving right along to Section 4, Strategic Purchase Recommendation. We've looked at the macro data, the feedstock, and the buying pulse. Now it's time to translate all of that directly into an actionable takeaway for your own strategy. Here is the bottom line, and this is delivered with absolute clarity directly from Polymer Bazaar's analysis. Tight availability might trigger higher prices, so we suggest buying. I mean, it's the logical conclusion to that tension we just talked about. Even though buyers in Europe and China are sort of sitting on their hands right now and burning through their existing inventory, the underlying availability in the broader market is tight. The second those regional buyers burn through their stocks and have to re-enter the market, that tight availability is perfectly positioned to trigger a price hike. So the recommendation is clear:
Get ahead of the curve. It is absolutely time to buy right now, while prices are still being held in that narrow, stable range. Now, Section 5. Instant Market Data Access. Look, to execute strategies like this effectively, you need an edge. You need a tool to help you future-proof your purchasing strategies, so you literally never miss a beat when these subtle market shifts happen. Just think about the old way of doing things, waiting around for periodic, weekly email reports to finally land in your inbox. By the time you actually read them, the market's probably already moved. But check out the new way. Polymer Bazaar has a WhatsApp chatbot that feeds you instant bazaar data. We're talking real-time polymer pricing, market predictions, and price revisions instantly. You can pull official company price lists directly in your chat, and honestly, the best part? It's available 24/7. Whether you're chained to your desk or out on the go, you have reliable updates anytime, anywhere, in under 5 seconds. Getting this set up is incredibly simple. Seriously, you can do it right this second. Step 1. Just save the number +91 9374 624365 to your phone's contacts. Step 2. Open up WhatsApp and just send a message with the word POM. That's it. Step 3, you'll instantly receive the absolute latest market information, reports, and forecasts right there on your phone. It is a massive time saver and, frankly, a totally crucial tool for staying ahead of those tight availability triggers we just broke down. So let's wrap up today's explainer with this one final thought. The data is super clear. Underneath all that surface level stability in Europe and China, the fundamental market availability is tightening up, and that points directly to higher prices on the horizon. The recommendation is to buy. So I'm going to leave you with this final critical question to chew on. The market is tightening. Are your stocks ready? Take a hard look at your inventory today, use the data tools you've got available, and make absolutely sure you're positioned for profit. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this intelligence, and as always, keep learning.